I work at a ski resort in Thredbo, New South Wales. An American couple walked into the rental shop last July wearing board shorts and flip-flop. It was -2 degrees Celsius outside. The woman asked where the beach was. I told her the nearest beach was about 5 hours drive away. She looked at her husband and said, "But we're in Australia." I explained we were in the snowy mountains. She asked why Australia had mountains. Her husband said they must be fake mountains for tourists, like the ones at Disney World. I told them we get more snow than Switzerland some years. He laughed and said that was impossible because Australia is next to the equator. I pointed to the snow outside. He said it must be that fake movie snow. They left to find the real Australia. I watched them drive away in their rental car. They were headed toward the Alpine area. In July. In sandals. The next day, an American asked me if we accepted US dollars at the ski lift. When I said no, he seemed genuinely confused that a country would have its own currency. He asked if we at least accepted credit cards from civilization. I told him his visa would work fine. He wanted to know if the exchange rate would be better if he paid in gold instead. And that was just Tuesday. I was driving a tour bus through Alice Springs when an American woman asked when we'd reach the coast. I told her we were in the center of Australia, about 1,500 kilometers from any ocean. She said that was impossible because she'd looked at a map and Australia wasn't that big. I asked which map. She said Google Maps on her phone. I explained that Australia is roughly the same size as the continental United States. She told me I was wrong because her phone showed Australia fitting on one screen but America needed scrolling. She showed me her phone. The map was zoomed way out. I zoomed in to show the actual distance. She said I was manipulating the map and that wasn't how geography worked. Her husband agreed that they'd driven across America and it took 5 days, so Australia should take maybe 2 days top. I told them Alice Springs to Sydney alone was a 17-hour drive. They asked why Australians don't just build more highways to make it faster. She then asked what ocean Alice Springs was on. I explained again that we're in the desert in the middle of the continent. She wanted to know where all the kangaroos go swimming then. I said kangaroos don't really swim recreationally. She accused me of lying because she'd seen a video online. She showed me a video of wallabies. In Tasmania, near a beach, I explained Tasmania is an island. She asked if that was the beach part of Australia. When I said Tasmania is several hours flight from where we were, she asked to speak to my supervisor about false advertising. The tour company had never advertised beaches. She said Australia advertising itself as a country was false advertising if there weren't beaches everywhere. Later that week, I had an American couple argue that Uluru couldn't be real because deserts don't have rocks that big. The man said he'd been to Arizona and never seen anything like it. I mentioned Arizona has plenty of large rock formations. He said those were natural but Uluru looked man-made because it was too red. His wife suggested it might be painted for tourists. I explained it's a natural iron oxide formation. She asked if that was healthy to be around. When I said it's just rock, she wanted to know if the Australian government had tested it for radiation. She was concerned because that much red isn't natural. They refused to get off the bus for the walk. They watched from the air-conditioned coach. Later, the man asked for a refund because the rock wasn't near water. I picked up an American family at the airport in Darwin. The teenage son asked where the surfboards were. I asked if he meant for later. He said for now, since we're in Australia. I told him Darwin is in the tropical north, and while we have beaches, we don't really surf here because of crocodiles and jellyfish. The mother asked what I meant by crocodiles. I explained we have saltwater crocodiles in the harbor and ocean. She laughed and said crocodiles live in swamps in Florida, not oceans. I told her our crocodiles are different and can live in salt water. The father said that was biologically impossible and I should check my fact. He pulled up Wikipedia and started reading about American alligators. I tried to explain the difference between alligators and saltwater crocodiles. He told me he had a biology degree from community college, and I was thinking of Cayman. The son asked if we could at least go to the beach. I warned them about the box jellyfish. The mother asked if I was making up animals now. She said she'd never heard of a box jellyfish, and she watches Animal Planet. When we drove past a crocodile warning sign, the father took a photo and said he was going to report the tourism board for false advertising. I work at a hotel in Melbourne. Last December, an American checked in and immediately asked why we had the air conditioning on. I explained it was summer and 38 degrees Celsius outside. He said it was December, which is winter. I told him we're in the southern hemisphere, so our seasons are opposite. He said that's not how seasons work, because seasons are caused by Earth's rotation. I tried to explain axial tilt. He said he'd taken astronomy in high school and I was wrong. His wife asked if this meant Christmas was in summer here. I said yes. She seemed personally offended. She asked how we do Christmas without snow. I said we often have Christmas barbecues at the beach. She said that wasn't Christmas, that was just a cookout. Her husband asked to speak to the manager about the heat. I was the manager. He wanted to know when Australia would fix its season problem. The next morning, he came down to breakfast wearing a heavy winter coat. It was already 30 degrees at 8 a.m. He said he wasn't going to let Australia trick him into getting sick. His wife was wearing a knit hat. They both ordered hot chocolate. I offered iced coffee instead given the heat. The wife said iced coffee in December was sacrilegious. I watched them eat hot soup while sweating. After breakfast, they asked about Christmas markets. I said Melbourne has night markets but not the winter Christmas kind. The husband asked what kind of backwards country puts Christmas in summer. I suggested they visit in June if they wanted cold weather. He said that's summer. I said not here. He accused me of trying to confuse him. I manage a vineyard in Barossa Valley, South Australia. An American couple came for a wine tasting last March. They were surprised we had vineyard. The woman said she thought Australia was all outback. I explained we have diverse climate zones perfect for wine. She asked if we imported the grapes from California. I told her we grow them here and actually export wine to America. Her husband said that couldn't be right because Australian wine isn't famous. I mentioned brands like Penfolds and Yellowtail. He said he'd never heard of them. His wife asked if the grapes could even grow here with all the heat. I explained South Australia has a Mediterranean climate, similar to Napa Valley. She said that was impossible because Australia is near the equator. I pulled up a map showing we're actually quite far south. She studied it and said the map must be upside down. Her husband agreed that maps show north at the top. I tried to explain map orientation. He said I was being difficult. They left without tasting any wine. I work at the Weather Bureau in Perth. An American called asking why our forecast was wrong. I asked what was incorrect. He said we predicted 25 degrees and it felt like 77. I explained we use Celsius. He said the temperature can't just change because of the measurement system. I told him 25 Celsius equals 77 Fahrenheit. He accused me of making up numbers to confuse tourists. His wife grabbed the phone and asked why Australia doesn't just use real degrees. I explained Celsius is the international standard. She said America uses Fahrenheit, so that's the real standard. I mentioned almost every country uses Celsius. She said that meant those countries were wrong. Her husband took the phone back and demanded we change our forecast to Fahrenheit. I said we couldn't change our national measurement system for tourists. He threatened to report us to the American Embassy for false weather reporting. I asked what they would do. He said they'd make us use Freedom Unit. I run a bookshop in Canberra. An American woman came in asking for maps of Australia. I showed her our geography section. She picked up an atlas and studied it for a while. Then she came back to the counter looking confused. She said the map was wrong because it showed Australia as mostly desert and rural land. I told her that's accurate. About 70% of Australia is arid or semi-arid. She said that couldn't be right because every photo she'd seen of Australia showed beaches. I explained that most Australians live on the coast, so that's what gets photographed. She insisted the map was incorrect because her travel agent said Australia was perfect for beach holidays. I told her we have beautiful beaches, but also deserts, mountains, rainforests, and cities. She said I was overcomplicating things. Her husband joined the conversation and said they'd booked 2 weeks in Sydney and expected to visit every major beach in Australia. I told him Australia has over 10,000 beaches. He asked how that was possible for such a small country. I reminded him Australia is nearly as large as the United States. He said that was fake news because his globe at home showed Australia as tiny. I asked if perhaps his globe just made it look small compared to other continents. He said globes are to scale and I was clearly lying. She wanted to know why Australian schools don't teach proper geography. I have a geography degree from the Australian National University. They bought a postcard of Bondi Beach instead. They said it was the only honest thing in the store. Somewhere right now, an American is explaining to a confused Australian that their country doesn't have enough beaches.